If you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you're a hunter or you just enjoy the great outdoors. If you value your ability to hunt, now is the time to step up. There have been countless efforts to vilify hunters and denounce the legitimacy of the science-based wildlife management model. There's no science to this stance, and it is solely emotionally charged. We don't want to see what happened with the grizzly hunt replay itself again with the remaining large carnivores or big game species. It's a slippery slope, folks. We need to stand together. Now is the time for hunters to be united across all organizations and show our combined support. Please go to wildsheepsociety.com/act now and follow the steps. It doesn't take much time and it will help save the future of hunting. This applies to residents and non-residents alike. Please, let's use our voice and be heard. On with the show, folks. This is episode 15 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. On this episode, I talk with Nick Trehearne about how he got started and a couple quick stories before diving into some conservation discussion. This podcast is brought to you by Kafaru International, the toughest hunting gear on the planet, bar none. Frontiersman gear, high quality, completely custom handmade knives made in the heart of the Peace Country. And as always, we're brought to you by Just Shooting Arrows, BC's premier archery shop. I had Tanner on the podcast from Frontiersman Gear, and he's he's a good dude. Hey,
yeah, he's solid. It's cool to see him making it, and it's insane how far he's come in a year.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely passionate about it. Like, I talked to him about knives and he just he won't stop. He's like,
yeah, totally.
Just so excited. And I mean, I think if you don't have that fire behind you, it's not going to work, but he has it for sure, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty cool. Like, I've gone and photographed him a few times doing his thing, and yeah, he's definitely all about it.
Yeah, that's cool. You do all kinds of different photography work, eh?
Pretty much only outdoor hunting, fishing, some tourism, but
yeah,
that's it. Never any weddings or shit like that.
Yeah. So I think that can be,
by the way.
Well, it's whatever. We had Snyder on here and he freaking let her rip, so yeah. That kind of went out the window.
Gotcha. I'll try to get back.
No, it's all good. I mean, it's whatever you want. I'm kind of making a point to not use my regular vernacular on here, but I don't care what the guests do,
All good.
Whoa. So obviously you're a photographer. You do that for a living, Nick?
You betcha, for 9 years.
Nice. And so I seem to remember hearing on Journal that you kind of pulled the ripcord and decided just to go for it, hey?
Yeah, it pretty much was like a week or 10 days of buying my first camera to quitting my job and giving her.
That's perfect. And I think that's enough photography talk. So if you're here for photography, this is not the right podcast for you.
Yeah, totally.
So you're an outdoors photographer, like you just said. And so obviously you have a long history of hunting and being in the bush. And, that's what I'm here to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. I get out as much as I can and as often I can since, I started when I was a teenager. I think I probably skipped 50% of my classes once I started hunting. So
nice. Did you grow up in Prince George area?
No, Southern Alberta, actually.
Right. Cool. I think I actually heard that on that Journal podcast too. Yeah. So how'd you get going hunting? Were you born into it?
No, I actually come from a non-hunting family and some are on the anti side of the spectrum. So definitely not your traditional mold for sure. Kind of got it picked up in a gym class. We had a couple of guys in town bringing compound bows for us to all try archery as part of our gym class. And I was hooked instantly. So I actually ended up getting my first job as a kid just so I could buy a compound. And then, I was shooting every day at the local archery store. And a couple 18, 19-year-olds were just pushing me to come hunting with them. Like, buy a tag, we'll take you out. Like, and these guys were like crazy successful. So I was just
That's awesome.
more and more stoked with every story they told me, kind of thing. And yeah, went from there.
That's a killer way to get going. Like having instant built-in mentors and peers like that, right?
Oh yeah, it was sick. And then like the first day they took me out, like on my first stalk ever, I arrowed a velvet mule deer buck. So I was just like, I was hooked.
Yeah, that's like the needle is deep in the vein at that point.
Yeah, totally. I didn't even know what to like think of it at the start. Like same thing, just not growing up into it, not ever killing anything. It's just like I just stared at it like blankly, like what the hell did I do? And then a few minutes of that passed, and it's like, yep, I'm gonna do this always.
That's awesome. What did your family think? Because I'm sure when they were like, "Oh, I'm buying a bow," they were probably like, he's never going to kill anything."
I think they didn't really look at it as like a hunting thing from the start, just kind of like a hobby, whatever. Go to the archery store and shoot at paper.
Yeah.
And then I remember bringing that deer home. Like it was gutted, but like the whole deer in this guy's truck that took me out, and we like dropped it on my driveway and he took off. I like went inside and told my mom, and she's like, well, now what are you doing with it? I'm like, I don't know. So
the old DIY first butcher job, eh?
Oh yeah, it was a hack job. Like I had a broke kid, so I had no money for a butcher, and it's just like cut it into chunks that look like something I'd eat.
got mom's kitchen knife set and went at her, eh?
Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty bush league.
That's awesome. So it obviously has rapidly progressed from there. And I mean, growing up in Southern Alberta, there's no lack of opportunity, eh?
Oh yeah, totally. Like between all the buck and doe tags you can get, and bears and elk and just everything over the counter, there's no shortage of opportunity.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't believe how relaxed it is in Alberta, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely getting more restricted. Like I still go back there and hunt pretty much every single year. And yeah, a lot has locked down compared to whatever 20 years ago when I started.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I had one more year of doing that. And then my first job out of high school, like I ditched out on high school grad to go up to the Yukon and guide. I ditched out on probably the last month of school. And then,
that's
that
awesome.
Instantly got me hooked on the whole mountain thing.
That's awesome. I ditched out of school to play with motorcycles. So later in life now, I'm envious of the path you took.
Yeah, totally. Don't get me wrong. Like I have nothing against guides, but I wouldn't advise it or ever do it again. Like it was a sweet experience, but definitely not my thing.
Yeah. I mean, from our chat offline the other day, you telling me about some of the stuff you did, and dude, I'm just so pumped to hear some of your stories and like, how old are you, Nick?
36.
So you're 36, and I mean, you're doing stuff that guys at the end of their hunting career, I think, hang it up and wish they had done, you know? So you're living the dream.
Yeah, totally. Like, I don't know. I just tried to cater my life to what guys plan on doing when they're retired. But like, I just want to live my whole life that way.
I mean, that's the way to do it. Me and Wasey did this episode with Jake Downs. I think I'm going to put it out next week or something. I don't know. But we did this episode with Jake Downs, and we talked about kind of tailoring your life to being able to be in the woods as much as possible and what you have to do that. And I mean, taking the career route is certainly a way to do it, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Like I did a decade or whatever before I switched to the industry of chasing big money so I could afford to do it. And it's like, it just didn't work out. Like the higher up you got, like with responsibility, the less time off you got. And it was just, it was slipping away my time afield.
Yeah. Do you find now that you're in the hunting industry, you know, like they say, like you should never mix your passion with your work in some ways because it becomes work. Has that happened to you at all?
Oh yeah, 100%. Both that, like I've got burnt out from hunting, like kind of a mix of everything. But like now when I'm hunting for myself, like it's usually not much. It's definitely not what guys think. Like I
Yeah.
might personally get 10, 15 days a year hunting for myself now. So pretty dismal. But like I think it was 2019, I was in on like 66 big game kills. And like I was just so burnt out of seeing stuff fall over. I didn't even think that was a thing. But yeah, like I definitely just checked out. Like I remember it was like 2 or 3 weeks left. I had to hunt. I can't remember what it was, like maybe a goat tag or something. And I'm just like, I'm not going. I can't. Like I'm just over it this year. And yeah, so definitely had to readdress things and find that work life hunting balance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's something you'll dial in over the next decade of doing it. So,
Totally.
coming back from the first Alberta velvet archery buck
Yeah.
at like whatever you said, 13 years old. How did
Yeah, I
how
was in
did
my
you
teens,
how
whatever it
did you
was.
yeah how did you get to be the woods rock star that you are now?
Definitely would not go that far, but
I know, I was just talking smack.
yeah, totally. Just I don't know. Like I literally catered every single move I've ever made in life towards hunting and being outside. Like
Yeah,
right from the Yukon to the oil patch to whatever,
yeah.
and any and every tag that I could. Like every possible sick day I had, I would hunt. Like every night I was shooting my bow. Like I literally just revolved my life around it, and yeah, it snowballed. Like there'd be
Hmm.
cull hunts in the winter, and I'd jump on that and go shoot a bunch of whitetail does or something for CWD, or
Yeah.
yeah, like spring bears. Like there's a cool thing in Alberta where you're allowed to, for predation on private land, shoot bears any time of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. I read that.
No tags, no limits. So like that's another opportunity that I just jumped on just to be out there, like learning hunting as much as I possibly could. And yeah, have 15, 20 tags in my pocket every fall.
Yeah. So I find for me, and I mean some other guys too that I talk to, you kind of get sort of locked in on a species for a few years at a time, and like right now I'm kind of going through this southern BC elk thing, and I'm like, I'm going to figure these things out. I'm going to kill a bunch of them.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
what was kind of your jump off? Like, what was your evolution of learning to hunt? Like, what did you start chasing first? Seriously?
Mule deer were 100% it. Like that first velvet buck I shot, they got it all on video, so I still watch it every once in a while. But
That's
I shot
awesome.
the wrong buck, and I
Oh,
shot the small one. So like, and these guys were like pretty diehard trophy hunters. So that's kind of like what I was trying to live up to and like
uh-huh.
be cool like them, right?
Yeah.
And then I shot the wrong buck. I shot like a little 115-inch 3 point, but there was a 4x4 with matching kickers like 3 feet away from it that I just like blacked out and didn't even see in the moment. I was so excited.
Dude,
So
I
like,
can't
yeah,
imagine that being like a young man like that. Cause like me as like a 33-year-old dude, I go out there with Wacy and get in front of some of those southern Alberta mule deer and I black out. I'm like,
oh,
okay,
totally. I
oh.
still do too, man.
Dude, it's heavy out there. Like if you have buck fever, it's game over. Like you're not getting it done if you don't get that, I don't know, the iron mind or whatever going, because it's intense.
Oh, definitely. So yeah, like after that experience, I was hell bent on mule deer for probably, I don't know, I guess until I got back from the Yukon and found kind of the thrill of mountains a little more.
Yeah, is that kind of what dragged you over to BC?
No, I just followed a girl here, to be honest.
That's fair.
But yeah, it definitely, I wasn't going to say no when I knew what was here for over the counter species and goats and sheep and all that. So there was no argument
Yeah,
from
for
this
sure. Right.
side.
Um, so I mean, I guess you stayed in Alberta for a bunch of years, and did you kind of do the circuit out there? Like, there's some good moose opportunity and really good elk opportunity over there too, eh?
Yeah, I hunted them all. I'm like ridiculously picky when it comes to elk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've passed up more legal elk than I can count. Like for some weird reason, I only want one, and it's got to be huge and like my dream bull. So
Yeah.
I never actually pulled the trigger. I had some prime tags and like passed up low 300-inch bulls, but yeah, wasn't for lack of trying. I definitely caught the sheep bug, and I've shot a few bighorns. So that occupied some time. And kind of after I got the bighorns under the belt, I gravitated back to mountain mule deer. And then that kind of captivated everything for a while. And then, I don't know, just kind of, it goes through cycles. Like I'd set out to do something and I shot like a gross, I don't know, mid 170s mule deer in the Alpine. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now on to the next thing. And yeah, just revolved through them all. But like ever since I moved to BC, I don't know, it's been like 8 years now. Mountain goats, just they are it. There's nothing that touches it for me.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that because I have my first goat hunt booked with Wasey and my hunting partner Chad this August, which I'm pretty stoked about. So I don't want to gloss over the Alberta sheep thing because I don't ever hear about it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
How does that hunt kind of compare to some of the, I don't know, like BC sheep hunts, like the BC bighorn stuff?
Bighorn, I don't know. Like I've never hunted them here.
Okay.
So I really can attest to that. Like they're kind of like, I didn't get the sheep bug like a lot of guys do. Like it's more, it was a challenge and it was something I wanted until I got it done. And then it's like, okay, on to the next thing. Like, yeah. I haven't even hunted sheep personally since I've been here in 8 years, for example, but
yeah,
sheep are a different game in general in Alberta, just because like you have such a small strip of mountains, right? Like the national park takes up half the Rockies in that province. And then like all your sheep pressure is pretty thick on the exact same spots.
Yeah. So there's not a ton of opportunity there. Hey,
there's opportunity. There's just a lot more competition than anything I've experienced in the mountains in BC. Like whether we're hunting deer, bears, or goats, or caribou, or whatever in the mountains here, like it's never been a problem going far enough to get away from guys. Like,
yeah.
You see a guy push an extra 5K, and you'll no longer see guys. That's just how it's been. But you just can't do that in Alberta because you hit those borders. Like there's only so much to hunt.
Yeah, you hear about that in the US a lot too, where guys are like, oh yeah, I can't get far enough back away from guys because I'm hitting another highway. Like,
oh yeah, totally. Like I go down there on hunts for work all the time, and that's unless you're on private land, which you're still restricted to borders, like that is 100% an issue almost everywhere.
That's awesome. I'll definitely have to ask you about some of the US stuff a little later. I mean, I know it's not you cutting the tag on those ones, so yeah, maybe we'll save it for the photography 101 lesson, but
there you go.
So mountain goat has caught your heart.
Yeah, like I think because you have to wait whatever half a year or be here half a year, wait a year to get your residency. And like I got my residency like the end of January, and literally the first hunt I did was like a solo February goat hunt when I was here. And it's just like, yeah, I just since the very start cannot get enough of them. But it's kind of like the unattainable thing, especially coming from Alberta. There's only like 4 goat tags in the entire province, and it's like winning a lottery. So like it was always the thing I just dreamed of and never could do.
And now you can do it over the counter every year.
Oh yeah, like I'm in on multiple goat kills a year and have shot several myself, and it's just like every opportunity I'm in on it.
That February goat hunt is something else, eh? Like I know Prin was talking about it, and he called me up. He's like, "What do you think of winter goat hunts?" And I'm like, "No, just no, like absolutely not."
Yeah, no, they're a definite different risk. You just, I don't know, you can't go in there just thinking it'll be like a normal fall hunt. Like we've had avalanches come down pretty close to us. Like we've had to lower ourselves off cliffs with ropes to retrieve goats, like ice axe and crampons to pretty much like ice climb your way up the mountain. So,
that's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But it's just like one of those ones you just can't take lightly, you know?
Yeah, that is above my threshold for the foreseeable future anyways.
Yeah, it's funny. Like every single year since I've been here, guys have asked to come, and I've gone with lots of guys that throw in the towel on like day one.
Oof.
Like we don't even get in there, kind of thing. You hear it all the time, like whether it's guys with the Journal or other parties you see online. Like a lot of guys plan, very few guys execute, or especially stay in there 7, 10, 14 days like they initially wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's some of the films and stuff make it seem a lot more accessible than I think it actually is, you know?
Oh, totally. Like everyone I think has seen that, like towing the line or whatever that the Journal put out with Nolan. And it's like, that's some steep, nasty country. And
Yeah.
they had to cover a lot of it with a lot of failed attempts in certain areas to get that done.
Yeah.
Like, it's a shitload of work. And then I actually went up the following year with Nolan, and he got another goat. And that's the one where we had to like lower ourselves down with ropes with his goat. And it's just like, yeah, it's something.
Yeah, that's
different.
Yeah, it's definitely something different. It's a far departure from alpine muley when you're worried about getting a sunburn.
Yeah, totally.
So when did you get your first goat?
Like I got here that first February, like that fall. So whatever, 8 months after having residency, I shot my first goat.
And was that a pretty difficult task for you, or how did you find it?
No, I've literally never had an issue killing a goat in the fall. Like every time I've personally set out for one in like August, September, I've shot one. But it was kind of like really awesome, but a big letdown at the same time. Like it was day like, I don't know, 13 or something of the mixed bag hunt with my buddy. And we see this goat, and it was on like this huge grassy knoll where it had to go like 200-300 yards to the nearest cliff. So we're like, perfect, like easy retrieve, whatever. So I shoot this thing with my 338 and flatten it. So it drops, but then it slowly, like slow motion, starts rolling towards this cliff. Ugh. It took like 5 minutes for the stupid thing to roll to the cliff. Then it fell off like 300 meters down and like destroyed its horns. So it's like, it was awesome, like tasted good, but it's pretty disappointing to not be able to throw your hands on a set of black horns after all that time waiting. But
yeah, a couple weeks out there too.
Yeah, super cool nonetheless.
And then you followed it up the following year, I bet?
I think I've been every other year pretty much.
Nice.
For personal goats. But yeah, the next year I helped a buddy arrow a goat. And I think that took us 2 days. And yeah, usually they're about 3 or 4 day hunts now to get a goat.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to get up there and chase them suckers around. They're so cool, man. And like,
totally.
Whenever you see them, it's just like you completely lose track of whatever you're doing if you're not chasing them, right?
Oh, 100%. And like, we have it so unbelievably good in BC for goats. Like, the sheer numbers you can see on a hunt and like the trophy quality that's pretty much in every zone in this entire province is like second to none. Like you compare it to guys and what they're shooting in like Colorado for goats, and it's like we could pretty much shoot what they'd wait a whole season for every single day in most units.
Yeah. I mean, I keep hearing that. Some of those places I think put out some of the biggest billies in the world, right?
Oh, totally. Like my biggest goat is a 3-year-old, and it's a Boone and Crockett goat.
That's awesome.
It's like ridiculous how fast they grow, and especially in like that north coastal region.
Yeah. I mean, they're cool. I'm not sure there's a more overlooked critter with guys getting going, you know, or not even guys getting going, but guys looking at is starting to maybe do some mountain hunts. I think people kind of skip the goat and go right to sheep, you know?
Oh, totally. I seriously think if they had horns like an ibex on them, like no one would care about sheep. They would just be goats, but like they're just not as impressive. Like they have little tiny 10-inch horns, right? Not 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. What do you think's harder to kill, a sheep or a goat? I mean, I know you haven't gone after sheep in BC, but
Oh no, I've been on successful sheep hunts too, just
yeah,
not for myself in
yeah,
BC. But 100% goats. It's harder to find legal sheep, but once you've found them, I find sheep not that hard to kill.
yeah. I guess if you don't bump them, they don't take off as far, right? I've never chased sheep, so
Yeah, but even like one of my rams I shot, like it was clearly locked onto us at like, I don't know, 30 yards. And my buddy was dicking around range finding it for like 5 minutes, deciding if it was legal because he was going to arrow it. It's like, they just don't care. Like if they see you and then you disappear, they get super nervous and will take off. But like,
yeah,
they have a lot higher comfort level, I find, than goats.
yeah. So you're saying goats you figure are more skittish than a ram.
Mature ones, yeah. Like you can't, I'm not like speaking about like 1, 2, 3 year olds that just aren't that smart yet. But like if you're comparing a 10-year-old sheep to a 10-year-old goat, I would say the goat is
Huh? That's
probably a
interesting.
little, yeah. But I have very slanted views on them that differ from most.
Yeah, just because you love them so much.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they're cool, man. I'm super excited. I can't wait to go chase them with my bow this year. It'll be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, I mean, you have a gang of these things. What's your kind of favorite story with taking a billy?
As much as it sucked, probably that first one I already told you. Just
Yeah, that bailed off the
first,
cliff.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like even the retrieval, like everything about it was hard. Like after it fell down that cliff, like it was into this gnarly rock chute that we were probably stupid for even retrieving it in. So we got
Mm-hmm.
stuck there, like had to sleep the night on this like, I don't know, 55-degree rock chute next to the goat, like hoping we didn't like roll in the night and fall because it was just like too sketchy to get out. And yeah,
Jeez.
I don't know, just the whole story behind it was cool. Like by the time we got it packed out to the lake, like the plane pretty much landed the second we hit the shoreline. I don't know, it's kind of like that game ending trophy, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care what you call it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome. And I mean, I know you're a diehard goat guy, but what about like some more of those northern hunts? There must be some other critters that you kind of get stoked about.
Oh yeah, like I've shot since coming here caribou and moose and blacktails and bears and cats. And yeah, I still kind of the same principle as like earlier in life. I still hunt as much as I can. And
Yeah.
kind of the one thing I'm working on is I want one new species a year to slowly pick at, like the Super 10 and then the North American Slam. So as
Yeah.
long as I'm getting new species added to my list every year, I'm usually pretty happy.
What's left on your list?
Oh, lots. I'm only at 10 out of like the 28.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. The caribou is something for me that I've always wanted to get after. And it's like just one of those things that like I keep putting it off in lieu of like doing other stuff because it seems to have the like, I don't know, like maybe it's like poorly guided, but it seems like it wouldn't be a terribly difficult hunt.
Um, yes and no. I think like a big thing is they're like sheep, right? Like you'll see lots that aren't legal. Like
Yeah.
finding a big mature bull that meets that 5 up top can be a challenge in a lot of areas. Like that one I shot this year was definitely a challenge, but purely because we were sheep hunting and we were way too far in that we ever should have shot that thing. So like getting it out was a chore and multiple trips of like the crappiest willow. So I don't know. You can make them as hard as you want or as easy as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that we were talking about flying in this coming year,
Yeah.
specifically for caribou and Wasey wants to get it done with his recurve.
Yeah.
He's a stick bow only guy, right?
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't put it off if I were you. Like, I don't know. Since I moved to BC, we've lost, other than Grizz, obviously, more caribou seasons and areas than anything. Like they're closing them down left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Like maybe it won't spread to the rest of the areas, but like, I don't know. It would suck
that's actually
to have another species you want and then get closed, right?
Yeah, and I think I mean there's not too many other options for us to go hunt them without whatever. But that has been one of the my kind of negotiation points with my buddies there about what we should do, because I kind of say like I want to do this before it does get shut down, if it's going to, because like there was a hunt in Region 5 for them only a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, and same with like the northern end of 7A. They've closed a bunch down in the last couple of years too. And it's like everyone thinks it won't happen. We all thought it with the grizzly. Like even caribou in Quebec, like they used to have some of the biggest numbers and biggest herds in the world. Now they're completely shut down. Like whatever environmental changes are happening, like caribou just seem to get wiped out first.
Yeah, they certainly seem to take the brunt of it for sure. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I mean, I've talked about it on here like a dozen times now, but I saw a few weeks ago, Wild Sheep Society put out that kind of call to action with those same people that went after the grizzly were now going after all large carnivores. And in that same sort of statement they made, they, name, I don't know if they named all sheep or just stone sheep and mountain goats.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I think it's just really important for all of us to, be sending our letters and stuff like that, right?
Oh, 100%. Like as much as like a phone call and actually talking to your elected official is key, like it's really not hard to jump on like the Wild Sheep's page right now has an automated form.
Yeah.
Like you punch in your name, your email, and it does all the work for you. Like it takes 30 seconds of your life to voice your opinion. So there's no reason really anyone shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I did mine today and I forwarded it to all my family members and I said, could you please fill this out with your info and send it off, please?
You and me both.
Yeah, it's like I there's a lot of passive hunters in BC, unfortunately, and I think if we kind of all sort of banded together and kind of sent the same message, maybe we would get heard a little more.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I definitely do need to get after those caribou sooner than later. So maybe this is the motivation I need to get on it next season.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, man. What do you have planned for this coming year? I mean, I know it's hard with work stuff, right?
Yeah, I can pretty much list off my entire work calendar right now, but
yeah, don't do that.
I don't have a single personal hunt, I don't think, on the books yet.
No.
It's just everything's so up in the air. Like I do a lot in the States, so with all the crap happening with the border, it's like I booked my year solid, and then if a cancellation pops up, then I'll go hunt last minute kind of thing. But I don't know. This year, just same thing, kind of want that new species. So probably a stone stone or bison will be the one I target this year.
Yeah. I mean, now that bison's over the counter, right?
Yeah. And I have no issues. Like I hunt out of province, out of country, like all the time. So I have no issues leaving to BC for a bison either. Yeah.
That'd be cool for sure. That stone sheep hunt is just, I mean, it's such like one of those romantic things, because you read all those books about sheep in northern BC, and like the more you read, the more like storybook it gets. I find I've been kind of putting that off too, because I want to do it with kind of my main hunting mentor, Ron. He's a very accomplished stone sheep hunter, but
yeah,
man, I don't know. Is there anything cooler?
Goats.
I think I'm just going to call this episode Goats, just all in capitals. Nick likes goats.
Like, even like a lot of the places I goat hunt, it's stone sheep country, and we have legitimately glassed up legal rams and like left them to go find like a big goat. And yeah, so it's
Are you picky with goats?
I am now. Like, if it's not a book goat, I'm not going to shoot it. And bonus points the older it is, kind of thing. But
yeah, for sure. And with you being like such a goat nut, I feel like I should ask you some like goat tips. No, for real, I should. I mean, I have you here. Why not?
totally.
I think one of the things that guys probably mess up the most or struggle the most with or most nervous about when they head out on their first goat hunt is identifying what sex they are, right?
Yeah, 100%. As I guess weird as it is, like if you go right out of the gate to shoot a monster, you pretty much can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Like when you see the mass of like that size of goat, like where their bases are bigger than their eyes, like the length of the horns are more than double their ear length. Like there's just some surefire tells that like you got a huge goat. It's very likely a billy.
Yeah, and the natties don't get that big, right?
What's that?
I said, and the natties don't get that big, right?
I would have said yes up until this year, but when I was actually in the biologist's office here in town getting my caribou CI'd, she showed me pictures of a Boone and Crockett like high up, like a 52-inch nanny.
Super nanny.
And yeah, she showed me the pictures. She's like, is this a billy or a nanny? I'm like, well, that's no question. Like, it's a billy, like sweeping horns, crazy mass. Like, that thing's a tank. Who shot it? And she's like, look at the next picture. And yeah, it was straight up a nanny.
Oh, wow.
But it's bigger than all but one of the goats I've been in on. So yeah, there's the exception to every rule. But
yeah,
at that point, like, I don't know, you should be stoked if you ever shoot a nanny that big, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think our MGA though was saying like if no nannies were ever harvested, there'd be like 10 times the population. I might be butchering that, so don't hold me to it.
They definitely have a big impact.
Yeah, I think what do they raise? Like a kid every 2 years or something, I think.
Yeah, definitely not quick, but
yeah. Somebody else I think was telling me that like the billies will always be dirty. Like a little later in the season, they start to get way dirtier than the nannies, right?
Yeah, but same thing. That's not a golden rule. I've seen it both ways. Same with like a lot of guys say, because billies will sit there with their front legs and kick back onto like their hind or kick dirt onto their hind quarter. So you'll see like dark asses right from August 1st when they open up in some areas. But
yeah,
I don't know. Several people have told me that's a rule too. And that's false. I've seen nannies do it. Same with the glands at the back of the horns. Tons of guys falsely think that that's billies only, and that's wrong. Nannies can have that too. So yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah, I mean, in the name of full disclosure, I've gotten quite a few of those nanny billy questionnaires wrong that our MGA post. But I mean, I think they post tricky ones on purpose, maybe.
Oh yeah, it's to challenge people, right? Like that's the only way you learn.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, everybody that I've talked to, like we had Snyder on, and Snyder killed one with a stick bow last year or the year before, maybe even. We were talking about that because Wasey's going to try to shoot one of these things with a stick. So is Chad, but we'll see about that, Chad. But Snyder was saying the trick to it is just to get above him.
Oh, 100%. Like the one I helped my buddy arrow there, like same thing. It was right above him in the cliffs, but had no problems getting to like 14 yards of the thing.
Yeah, snuck right down, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like first stock and bam, just right in on him.
That's so awesome. Is that one of the more memorable goat kills you've been in on?
The hunt, no. Kind of had a weird finish. We buried them, like packed the meat back to camp, I don't know, a couple kilometers from the kill site. Mm-hmm. And there was like a big snow patch like left over from the winter, I don't know, 100 yards from camp maybe. So it was like early August, so we buried the game bags in the snow for the night before we were gonna pack it off the mountain the next day, kind of thing, just to keep it cool.
Yeah.
And woke up in the morning, I'm like, you need a hand grab in the meat? He's like, no, I'll be right back. Like, should be no problem. He comes back, he's like, it's gone. Like, the hell are you talking about? Like, what's gone? He's like, all of it. Like, what? It's like, everything's gone. Like, bullshit. Like, throw on my boots, come and look. And yeah, like it was all gone. But
You can
like it
just
was kind of
assume it.
that level where it was warm enough that it like melted out that you couldn't see like any paw prints or anything in the snow, just that something had dug it out.
Oh no.
And then it was all on the shale, so like no tracks or anything. And they were in game bags. So we just started doing big circles and like got 100 yards out, got 200 yards out, whatever, kept going. And then he found like 7 or 8 different wolf tracks in like this little 1 by 1 foot square piece of mud.
Oh, wow.
It's like, you've got to be shitting me. So we kind of went in that direction, and a pack of wolves had followed us right from the kill site, right to where we buried it. And like, it was in our packs the whole way. So like how they ever picked up the smell is beyond me. But yeah, they didn't shred the meat or eat it there. They grabbed the game bags and just walked off with the entire thing. It was
wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's wild.
So he actually ended up not getting an ounce of meat off the thing, unfortunately. And we went to CI it after the hunt, and they had, or when he shot it, it had fell, and like one of the horns blew off.
Yeah.
But we found it. So the skull and like the one horn were buried as well, just to keep him away from camp or whatever. Yeah. And they took the skull too. So all he's got from this goat is like one sheath. And that's what he took into the biologist. He's like, yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, I have no evidence of sex, no skull, no tooth, because that was required that year. He's like, I have this. And then, I explained it to the COs and the biologists, and they're like, well, what do you do, right? Like, you guys tried, and it was all cool, but it was memorable that way, just not in the way you want.
People probably come over to his house and see it on a shelf somewhere, and they're like, what is this? And he's like, well, I have a story for you.
Yeah, totally.
Right. I mean, that's a bummer, but that's a cool story.
Yeah.
I feel like a guy like you that spends as much time in remote places runs into weird stuff like that more often than most.
Yeah, there's definitely a few a year that meet the weird criteria.
Is there any others that stand out to you? I know I keep putting you on the spot here, right?
Seen a moose get knocked out from getting shot in the antler, like the base of the antler, and it was out for like 45 minutes.
What?
Yeah. That was actually when I was in the Yukon. Guy shot it and just like folded this moose. It was like awesome, like last light, kind of the other side of the mountain from camp. Like, go make sure it's dead and walk up. Thing pops up at like, I don't know, 12 feet. It's like, oh shit, bang. Drop back down. Like, and then came back like with more daylight, obviously. Start investigating more. It's like, took a bullet square like an inch from the pedicle of the base of the antler and just was out cold.
Oh man, that reminds me of that Jeff Foxworthy skit where he hits the beaver in his truck and he goes, "It's not bloody or cut up or nothing." And that's the moment the beaver came back to life.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, brutal. Actually, somebody messaged me today. When Chris was on here, Chris Prin, we were talking about a Cali that he took a shot at and hit. And then next time he saw it through the scope, the sheep was feet to the sky, and he was like, "Oh, great." Flipped it over. Awesome. Went over there, no blood or nothing. And he never found it. And then he saw it like, I don't know, a month later or something, looking fine. And somebody messaged me today saying, "I know what happened." And I was like, "Did he shoot him in the horn?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, I was going to say that, but I felt like a dick.
No, like oddly enough, like I've told that story a few times on a couple podcasts and stuff. It's actually happened to a lot of guys with like a variety of different species.
Yeah. Somebody in the archery community, I can't remember who it was. They were telling me that they were hunting with somebody and the dude had arrowed like, I don't know, whatever, some kind of game in the antler. Cause he was just like staring at like whatever his antler, you know?
Oh, totally.
I could see that happening
a lot with stick bow guys.
Yeah. I mean, without a real aiming mechanism, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like you have a big buck come in and like, it's hard not to stare at it, right?
I mean, I just black out and it's game over anyway. So
yeah. I don't know. It's definitely the reason I gave up hunting with my stick bow.
Yeah, did you do some traditional hunting?
Yeah, I one year I set out to do it, and I shot a whitetail buck and 2 mule deer does, and
Yeah.
then I missed one of the bigger mule deer bucks I've ever seen in my life. Same thing, just sailed it right through the antlers.
Yeah.
Obviously staring at the wrong thing, but it was like one of those shots where I knew if I had a compound, like it was 31 yards or something, and like that thing would have been dead 10 times over.
Yeah.
And it's like, as much as I liked it and wanted to do it more, it's like I like to watch things fall over even more. So I'm just not taking it anymore.
Yeah, I've talked about it on here a bit, but like I'm just at the point where I want to go hunting with my stick bow because I shoot it all the time and I love it and it's fun, but I can't bring myself to do it because I'll have that regret of missing out right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Snyder gave me pretty good crap about it with, the best way to commit to it is just to sell all your compounds. And I'm like, I can't do it, man. I just can't do it. Like some of those Southern Alberta deer are so switched on and like, I mean, I'm not like a Jedi like Wasey and that dude, like those guys get so close, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Like, I don't know. If I was to do it again, it would be bears. Like,
Yeah.
those things are super easy to get close to. And if you blow a stalk, you can have another one an hour later in the spring here. So
yeah, that's exactly sort of what we've been talking about lately is get one on the ground with the stick this spring and then switch back to the compound for the fall for me anyways. Do you still hunt with a bow or are you pretty well strictly a rifle guy these days?
I bow hunted religiously up until about 2 years ago. And for whatever reason, it just switched off, lost pretty much all desire.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a component of you being so busy and not having the time to keep it up, right?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. If I were to like label something, it'd be when I got into long range rifle shooting. It's like that challenge just was a different challenge that took all my time. Like rather than go fling arrows at a target, I'll just go to the range and bring steel at 600 yards instead.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you been implementing that in your hunting?
Every single goat I've shot has been over 500 yards. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Like I shoot 200 yards and don't feel good about it just because I'm an archery guy, I'm like,
I get it. Like I didn't even own a gun or shoot a gun. Like the first gun I ever shot was a 338 after I got back from the Yukon. That's what I decided to buy to start rifle hunting. So like I get the need to bow hunt and all that, but
totally. I just I think it's a confidence thing for me just because I'm always working with the bow and never with the rifle,
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
It does take an equal amount of time to be proficient long range, like with a gun, as it does. Like I find it easier to shoot a baseball sized group at 60 yards with my compound than a tight group at 600 with a rifle by far.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I mean, some of that long range shooting stuff blows my mind how detailed it gets. Chad, my hunting partner, he's a big gun dude and he's hand loading and this and that. And I'm just like, I finally just got to the point where I'm like, here's my gun, set it up, please.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a set of rabbit holes I'm not ready for.
Yeah, totally.
What are you shooting right now?
So I both work with and am on the Bergera Pro staff for my own personal hunting. So nothing but Bergera.
Oh, cool. And what caliber are you shooting?
Take your pick. I got a whole vault of them, but
that's awesome.
6.5s, 308s, 270, 270 short, 300s. I'm a big advocate on none of the weird calibers that you must reload.
Yeah.
Because like if I lose ammo in transport, like flying somewhere, like I want to be able to grab run of the mill ammo anywhere. So like I'm not going to rely on like a 28 Nosler or a PRC or something because like you can't go hit a gas station in northern Saskatchewan and find that. So
yeah,
pretty much always standardized calibers.
That makes a lot of sense. So if you had to put a young guy onto a caliber, if you were going to say, hey, like this is a caliber that can do everything in BC, what would you hand them?
On the lighter end, if they wanted something, 270 short, 280 Ackley. If they were, I guess, a little bigger, more confident or comfortable with guns, 300. But that oddly is a little too much gun for a lot of like full grown dudes. Like a lot of guys can't beat the flinch with a 300 without a break on it.
Yeah. And a break's just no fun for anybody.
Oh yeah, they're deafening.
I shot an elk at like 17 yards with Chad sitting directly behind me. We had hiked into this spot and I was like, I keep getting into elk in this spot at like 8 a.m. every morning. And this was one of the first hunts he had ever done with me. Right. And I was like, I just want to get to this tree and just kind of like, we'll drop down and we'll just start calling. You cow call one direction. I'll kind of respond a little bit later, you know? And this elk cruises in to like 17 yards and he was facing the other way. So he had no idea it was there. And I shot it with a 7mm Rem Mag and I didn't realize it, but my muzzle brake was at like head level with him.
Man.
It was bad. I mean, they call them guide killers for a reason, but like, I don't know. I owe that guy a dinner or something now. Like I can't hear anymore.
Totally. But was it worth it?
Yeah. Well, there's another part of that story that you don't want to hear. It didn't work out very well, but yeah. So, I mean, that's cool, man. It sounds like you've kind of ran the gamut in BC, and hopefully this year you'll get that stone sheep checked off your list. I have kind of dreams of grandeur of just making sure I kill every big game species in BC. Which is actually a pretty tough goal.
Oh, it's huge. Like, not like our province recognizes things like wolves and lynx as big game, but like you include everything. We got 18 species. Like it's pretty crazy and a pretty huge goal.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm wasting time in southern Alberta now in the fall, and I don't know, man.
That's not a waste, man.
Yeah, I know. It's so fun. It's so fun. But some of these species, like Rockies, and man, that's just a whole pursuit on its own. Like I've been thinking about getting after them in the coots there, and like that country is so rugged and so tough, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you done a lot of hunting in southern BC?
Yeah. One of my best friends is actually in Cranbrook. So I used to go down every year. Like we usually did alpine black bear hunt in the spring every year down there. And then just go down and like shoot a few deer if I had time, or shot a few turkeys down there and stuff. But
yeah, that's awesome. I love that kind of southeastern corner of BC. It's a lot of fun, man. It's such a far departure from, Southwest BC with what's out there, right?
Oh, definitely. And like, I don't know, PG is pretty central for hunting, but like we really don't have that much other than bears.
Yeah.
Like guys will spend $3,000 on bait and $4,000 on cell cameras and like maybe get one good chance at an animal in a year hunting ungulates up here.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, I can't be bothered. I'd rather drive for a full day, and like down there, like you'd have a crack at a whitetail every single day you hunt.
Yeah. I killed a whitetail in like 30 minutes last year. So I feel you.
Oh, I know. Yeah, totally.
Why do you think that is? Like Prince George seems like it would be like just popping with deer and elk and everything else, right? Has it changed over the years?
Moose are way down from historical numbers. Elk are climbing, but I don't know. I'm biased coming from Alberta, so I still think the numbers are pretty garbage.
That's actually kind of leads us into an interesting topic, actually. Like, I guess Alberta manages more for trophy quality instead of herd size, right?
Yeah, big time. It's kind of weird. Like it's a whole different culture. Like I've talked to a lot of my buddies around here, and they get like almost irate if you mention that you want like deer on draw or to get rid of the any buck mule deer season, where like you could give them all the case studies in the world from across North America to where you end up having more deer and bigger deer as a result. Like, I don't know. People just love that opportunity word and would rather have a chance at a deer every year, but not shoot one every 10 years rather than draw a tag every 2 and have a chance at a good buck every time you draw.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier in this thing, I was like, the opportunity out there is crazy, and they're still managing it for trophy quality, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I shot rifle the mule deer out there this year, and like I was a priority like 9, and it's not a lottery out there, it's just a point, so each year you get another point. And yeah, like I would take that tag versus 20 years of BC mule deer tags, just because like I knew what I was going in for. Like I wanted to gross 180 mule deer, and like I achieved it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know you can like set a goal, go in and do it. Like Alberta has the opportunity, like doe tags and non-trophy areas if you just want your 2 point. So it's not like ruling anyone out. It kind of meets both sides, but
yeah,
they at least have places you can go if you do want to be that selective hunter and actually get a chance at a big deer.
Yeah. I mean, we were hunting a unit that's a whole bunch of years to draw in southern Alberta while we were there. And like, man, my jaw hit the floor as soon as we started getting on deer. Like,
yeah,
we like pop into this first little coulee or whatever, and I'm up on the ridge looking through glass. I'm like, oh, that's a good deer. Oh, that's a good deer. Oh, that's a good deer. And I like just bop down the hill a little bit to where Wasey's set up. I'm like, Wasey, can I go stalk that deer? He like looks at me like I was just like, what? No, why? Like, what are you thinking? I'm like, no, man, that's a good deer, and I could get in on that deer. He's like, shut up. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's just such a far departure from BC. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, dude, that's like not a big deer. I'm like, it looks big. He's like, no, that's not a big deer. Like, you wait till we get into the deer. I'm like, dude, we're in the deer. Like, I just saw 5 good bucks. Like, let's rock. I'm ready to send an arrow. And I think it was like later the next day, we were like, just kind of heading over this ridge, sit down, and the first deer that I glassed was like the biggest deer I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just like, what? These exist? Like, I thought this was only on YouTube and Instagram. Like,
no, it's pretty amazing. Like, even the fact you can go there and on a good morning, you'll see more deer than you will in an entire season in BC.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And that's just like
I've told the story on here before, so I won't tell it. But like, there was one point of that trip where we did like a crazy, like 3.5 hour long stalk to get in on these 4 deer. And I thought I was going to shoot Wasey, but he kept giving me the thumbs up because he was across this little ridge for me, and whatever. Anyways, and like 4 of literally the biggest deer I've ever seen just march right in front of us. Like, wow, dude, so crazy. Like, if that opportunity ever happened in BC, nobody would believe you.
Oh, totally.
And like, I should say too, I'm not ragging on how BC manages game at all. Like, I love being here. We have awesome opportunity. It's just, they're 2 different things, I guess.
Yeah. But I straight up will rag on BC. Like, there's a thing that BC Wildlife put out kind of showing like how much money we invest in wildlife and fish and game and stuff by province. And then they showed like the Northwest states.
Yeah.
And, like, we have 18 species. The next closest state or province was like 8. Yet we had the lowest amount of funding for like our resource out of anywhere in North America. It's like, I don't know. It is a joke.
Yeah, I do notice when I head east, there's a lot more like hunting culture. I don't know the right way to word it, but I mean, like, it's kind of ingrained in people, like in Alberta, you know, like you go to the gas station and there's like 15 dudes in camo. Like,
even just the way the government allocates money, like they prioritize wildlife where we don't.
Yeah, I mean,
like, unless Wild Sheep or like the Goat Alliance or whoever is like throwing the checkbook out for a lot of these projects, like they just don't happen. Or First Nation groups fund a lot of the projects. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think our provincial government definitely needs to step up their game.
Yeah, I guess we got to jump up and down and shout at somebody. I just don't know who that somebody is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool though, man. It's nice that you have the kind of the history in Alberta and you've come out here and done a lot of cool stuff. I mean, that not many guys can say that, right?
Oh, 100%. But I don't know. I realize it's different everywhere. Like I photographed a elk hunt on a private ranch in Colorado in November this year.
Yep.
And we got, what was it, 5 or 6 bulls in 5 days, and like all over 300 inch. Like I think 340 was the biggest.
Yeah.
So it's like I totally realized that some places just don't have the carrying capacity, the genetics, whatever. And it is unfair to compare Alberta southeastern prairie deer to like whatever lower mainland or Prince George deer, but
yeah,
it's hard not to at the same time, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. Like some of the dudes that I hunt with in Alberta, they're like, "Hey, we want to come hunt blacktail." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." They're like, "Yeah." They're like, "I'm like, you guys want to hunt like coastal blacktail?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You want to see a good coastal blacktail?" I start studying them photos. Like, why are those deer so small, man?
Yeah,
it's just how they are. You know, an interesting question for you, since you're all over the U.S. and all over Canada and all over the world photographing these hunts, is like, what's like a bucket list hunt for you? Because I mean, you've seen the majority of stuff that you can do, right?
Yeah, ibex would be really high up there. Audads down in like Texas, New Mexico would be high up on the list. Yeah, really not too much. That like a huge elk is way up there, but I just don't know if it'll ever happen. But I don't know. A lot of the, I guess, exotic or whatever international animals don't do it for me. Like I wouldn't even go if I want to hunt in Africa. Like it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Ibex would definitely be the biggest international one.
Yeah, they're cool for sure. What about you know, actually, here's a question that you'll for sure have an opinion on. Somebody the other day was messaging me about an organization that I guess supports some of like these high fence ranch type deals in the US, and they were all bent out of shape.
Safari Club?
So now yep. But they were all bent out of shape about it. And I don't know, where are you at on that? Because I mean, you photograph stuff all over, and you do some private land ranch stuff too, right?
Yeah, and I've photographed a high fence hunt even. Like, I think it's kind of what you were talking about at the start. Like, we just have to stand together. Like, whether you like it or not, like that applies to hounds or high fence or whatever. Like, the more we piss and moan and pick each other apart, the faster we're going to lose the bigger picture. So, like, whether you like it or not, whether you'll ever do it or not, it's there. It's not going anywhere. Like, the bulk of Texas is high fence.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's one of those things, right? With it. Would I ever do it? Probably not, but I'll never say never. Like, maybe some cool, weird, I don't know, kudos in Texas and someone offers me a trip. It's like, I'd probably say yes. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, the only issues I have with them are where they tie to spreading disease, like CWD. Like, yeah. Straight up some definite correlation between those two things.
Yeah, and when they're moving a lot of deer around on the highways, contaminating stuff back and forth. Yeah.
But then, like, on the flip side, like, it's kind of like CWD is like COVID, if you will. Like, it's been found on a caribou in, I think it was Greenland. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, how the hell did it get there? There's no game farms. There's no deer. There's no elk. Like, so I think it's just like one of those unknowns that we just don't know about. Yeah. So to blame the high fenced hunting for that, it's I don't know. It's fair, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of right with you on that topic too. Like, I think that's what I said to this person. I was just like, I'm not. You're probably not going to see me in a situation where I'm hunting, a high fence ranch or something like that. But at the same time, I mean, like, I don't think you should score it the same as a true in the wild whitetail or whatever. I don't think they should end up in the same scorebook. That's fair. But again, I don't really see the difference. It's no different than a farm to me.
Totally. And like, they don't, like Boone and Crockett, Pope and Young, they do not accept them. So it's like, if you want to compete with game farm animals, you got SCI. Have at it.
Yeah. And I think they're a separate category though, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're marked as that. And they do have a different scoring system. Like, even a wild whitetail SCI does not score the same as Boone and Crockett.
Yeah.
But like, it is their own standalone thing for sure.
Yeah. I'm personally a fan of SCI because they do have kind of, they have lawyers on staff and boots on the ground, and they have guys like, I think they're one of the only organizations that have like actual lobbyists working for us, right?
Oh, 100%. And especially in Canada, like SCI actually does things.
Yeah, for sure.
Not saying the others don't, but they actually have like a voice, like you said. They actually do.
Yeah, I mean,
stand up for us. And
somebody asked me on Instagram recently. They're like, "Oh, what conservation organizations or what nonprofits do you support?" And I was like, all of them. Like, like if they're trying to keep hunting opportunity going and trying to push back to some of these groups that don't want hunting to be a thing, then I'm supporting them,
Yeah, it's like a weird one. Guys think that like they only need to or should support organizations like in their province.
Yeah.
But like when you lose something next door, it's a slippery slope to you losing it too. So like the Western Bear Foundation is like a perfect example of, it's a US organization. Like currently they're a pretty new organization in the Northwest to just like sustain, like they fought the California attempted bear closure pretty hard and trying to push and get grizzlies back. But it's like, I join them every single year, even though they don't even touch BC.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Well, they're doing good for hunting and I bear hunt and I hope it grows, whether it's here, Montana, Alberta, like you name it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I try to, not just support local, but everywhere I can for groups I believe in.
Yeah, for sure. I do the same thing. I kind of look at it once a year more closely and kind of divvy out my money based on whatever the current initiatives are. I don't know if that's the right 100%. Way to do it, but I generally put more money in my own backyard, and then I start spreading the rest around to, places like Rocky Mountain Goat Alliance. That there's been lots of talk about them lately, but they do a lot in the US, and I know they're starting to work up here, and it's awesome. So
the Elk Foundation's another one that's really not predominant in Canada, but it's like there's no denying they do amazing things for elk.
I mean, they were the Roosevelts in Region 2 here where I am, they were integral in that apparently. I just read that recently. I had no idea.
Yeah, they were actually huge in Canada. Like they even owned tons of land. It's like when I was back hunting in southern Alberta, they owned lots of land just to have as elk preserves. But that's right. I don't know whatever happened in the management, but they just pulled out and sold everything off.
I wonder if they sold it to private industry or if they sold it back to like gave it to the crown type deal.
They gave it to another nonprofit that's protecting the land from industry and development.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so they didn't like sell out per se. They just left for whatever reason.
Yeah. Do you find it, I mean, you're much further ingrained in this than I am, or entrenched rather, but do you find that a lot of guys are like, oh, if I support this group, I can't support that group, or like I'm BHA all the way, not SCI, or I'm SCI all the way, not BHA. It's like guys, I think guys feel the need to pick a team, and I'm pretty sure it's unnecessary.
It's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Like even the guys that are like, we can't support BC wildlife anymore because they partnered with whatever group to achieve this. And it's like the odds of you agreeing with every single decision every single group makes are like slim to none, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at politics.
So it's like, yeah, exactly. Like you have to, just like politics, look at it as like, okay, I agree with conservative views or like the BC Liberal Party or whatever the most, so I'll vote for them. And that's how you have to approach groups like BHA or BC Wildlife or Wild Sheep or whatever it is. Because, yeah, I don't know. Too many, same thing. It's just dividing list. Like we have to boycott them because Backcountry Hunters is a good one because they partner up with Patagonia.
Yeah.
And it's like in BC, so many guys have a hate on for Patagonia because an individual stored it in BC.
Yeah.
But it's like that group is also pumping tons of money, like even in my region up here, into initiatives that are benefiting fish and wildlife in British Columbia.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I support them because I actually see boots on the ground progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Patagonia one's really interesting with, I'm going to butcher his name, Yvon Chouinard, right?
Yeah.
He's a hunter and he lives off wild game, right?
Yeah,
But
totally.
I think all those Patagonia outlets, I think they're all just franchises, right? And they kind of all have their own ethos.
That is exactly it. Like he lets them take their own stances on political issues.
Yeah. Which might not be the best practice as a, big company with a big voice if you want to have stuff done.
100%.
But I mean,
like,
it's certainly
bad in any way, shape, or form, but I'm not going to boycott it. Like, doing positive things because of they have an affiliation.
Yeah, for sure. It's really hard to argue that point with people, but I mean, I think you kind of just hit the nail on the head with the whole. I mean, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but at the same time, you also don't want to make serious concessions in your beliefs, right?
Oh, 100%. And it's kind of funny because like guys have no clue what they're boycotting. Like even if they are anti-Patagonia, they'll be rocking a pair of like Danner boots, yet Danner and Patagonia are partners.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those popular hunting boots you'll buy, but you're going to boycott their partner. And it's just like people have no idea how intertwined all these companies and organizations are. Like, you'd pretty much be going out naked. Like, if you literally are that adamant about saying screw anyone that supports them.
Yeah. Or guys that'll tell you that Patagonia is the worst, but we're shopping at Mountain Equipment Co-op.
Yep. Well, like Gore-Tex owns Sitka, another huge one. Yet there's so many anti-companies tied to Gore.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
It's just like, how much do you want to let it dictate your beliefs? And I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know you're a hardcore First Light guy, right? And I mean, First Light has kind of come under fire lately when they all kind of changed hands and stuff like that. And I don't know if that was justified or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've been working with them for the past couple of years and was Sitka for years before that. But like, I don't know, like Meat Eater obviously bought them up. They own Phelps Game Calls and FHF Bino Harnesses and like a bunch. Like they're a major player. And honestly, I think almost nobody can sit back and complain about anyone tied to Meat Eater because Steven Ranella has probably done more for opening up people's eyes to like the positive side of it. And
absolutely.
He's the only one on Netflix. Like, he's diplomatic. Like he has a very careful approach. Sure, guys don't agree with everything again, but I don't know. I don't think there's any way you can hate on him, like logically anyway.
Man, I couldn't agree more. And part of that is you get in something like this, you have guys that want to be the voice of hunting, but can't hit it in a way that just doesn't piss everybody off that's not already in hunting, So you need to have these people in the space that can eloquently say what we need to say and help
100%.
kind of like send the message that we're trying to send. Like, hey, there's not any bloodlust here. It's not some weird fetish. Like, we don't hate animals. That's not what it is, right? And you have to have somebody to convey that message in a way like that doesn't piss people off. And how many people have like sat down and been like, hey mom, check out this episode of this hunting show. It's called Meat Eater. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, this is a good show. And then your parents have watched every single season. Like, you hear that story all the time. It's like, there's not another platform out there to do it.
Oh, 100%. Like, even how many times the man's been in like mainstream public media, like New York Times or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, eloquently defending us. It's like, I don't know. I just, as someone who is passionate about hunting, makes a living off of it, there's no way I could hate the guy, whether I agree with all his opinions or not.
Yeah. And like, I mean,
he's doing more good for it than anyone.
Absolutely. And you don't have to agree with everybody's opinions. Like we just said, it's like politics. You're not going to agree with everything everybody says, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of a weird state of the hunting world right now, though. Because like you said, everyone has that stance of all or nothing.
Oh, it's the truth, man. I have to edit that out. There's a topic that I don't think we should probably get into. And it's like the whole gun debate in Canada, right? It's like one side is zero concession, one side is like all or nothing, right? And it's nasty, and there's not really a solution that either party will be happy with, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to see that in hunting, you know?
Yeah. I don't want to, but I see it regularly. Like, yeah, it's here. Like, people fight about everything. Even when grizz were getting shut down, you go on like the BC hunting pages on social media, and a third of the guys were saying shut it down, and they were hunters. It's like, yeah, everyone just wants to be heard.
So in the news recently, there was some chick, I think from the island, that had killed. Yeah, that's it. That had shot some wolf and like was posting all this weird. Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah,
what do you make of that? I mean, we're talking like hunting politics now.
Yeah, this is for me something like I said I didn't want to talk about photos, but like this is something I'm try to be mindful of and struggle with all the time. And it's like, there's a way to portray hunting and there's a way to share it with your buddies, the masses, social media. But at the same time, if you don't do it right, you're pretty much slitting our throats. Yeah. Like a photo is that powerful today because like she is the perfect case in point. She was proud. She said, kill them all. Like that same stance, I guarantee you every hunter in this province has heard of when it comes to wolves. Oh yeah. But it's like, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it okay. Like it's okay to think that and believe that. Yeah. But throwing things like that in the public eye aren't necessarily doing us any favors. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, how much play has that got? I mean, I know your and I social media is just like riddled with hunting advertisement and news thing one after another. But like, man, my mom sent that to me. Like, oh, what? I know. Like, same thing coming from like, yes, most of my feed is filled with obviously hunting stuff. Yeah. But like from that non-hunting side, like aunts, cousins, brother, like everyone is non-hunting. And they're the ones posting and ranting about like how sadistic it is. So like I see both sides even within my own circle. Oh yeah. And it's absolutely toxic. Like whether I then have that conversation and explain to them like why, how, like the fact that not every hunter in BC is going to shoot 3 wolves in a year and completely wipe them out. And like all this complete propaganda that's being spread is not fact. But it's like for every person who sits down and actually explains to someone that's open, there's 20 people that made up their minds and are now anti-hunters. So it's just, I don't know. I like even a deer in the back of the truck with beer cans and the tongue hanging out and the jaw blown off that you see dozens of times on social media every fall. It's like, yes, it's legal. Yes, you have the right to do that and post that, but it's like, why? Like, you're just burying us.
Yeah. I've said that before on here, how, like, you know, I think it's important to be tasteful and only post stuff on social media that you don't care if it gets everywhere. And if it does get everywhere, it's not going to hurt hunting. Like, I think that's part of your responsibility as a hunter. I mean, even now, to the point where when you take the core, my wife did it recently. In the book is a whole section about not strapping your deer to the roof of your whatever Kia Santa Fe and driving through town. Like, it's not a good look. It's not going to help hunting. Like, the government spells it out to you. It's that obvious. Like,
100%. But that's pretty much my view on her. Like, to me, like, I've never met her. I can't speak to her character, but it just seemed like someone that wanted attention from posts. Because even like once everyone jumped on her, like, she didn't back down, take it down, like, say anything diplomatic about, okay, this is why we are doing it. Like, here's the reasons it benefits the ecosystem and the other animal populations. Like, I don't know, that would have seemed to be like the smooth recovery from something like that, or like as smooth as it could be, right? But I don't know. Some people just like fame and the wrong type of fame.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's a topic that can spin wildly out of control. And well, you know what? We're coming on to an hour and 20 or something here, so I'll let you get off for this evening, and then I'll have to have you back on again soon to chat more about this stuff, because these topics are topics I think that need to be talked about, and I think they're topics that, coming from a guy like you, I think you could give a lot of people the ammunition or the tools to deal with some of this stuff as it comes up in their own space, you know, because everybody's faced with this stuff, right? And how to not explain it away, but explain it in a way that people might gain some understanding. I think that's huge.
Absolutely, man. I'd be stoked to.
Yeah. Dude, I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm happy you got to do a podcast without talking about the latest DSLR and whatever lens you're using. So,
definitely appreciate it. You're my hero.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and follow us on Instagram @WildernessLocals, or check out the gear at our website, www.wildernesslocals.net.